It was the morning after the infamous wedding, 7 years in the making. Yaakov Avinu wakes up in his tent, and to his shock, it was Leah who was there with him. Rachel was nowhere to be found. And so we can just imagine that Yaakov at that moment feels like he can't trust anyone. Can't trust Leah, she just presented herself as Rachel. Can't trust Lavan, he knew he couldn't trust him from the moment he stepped foot in Haran. And couldn't trust his beloved Rachel because she had given the secret signs to her sister the night before. So one wonders, why didn't Yaakov just pack up his bags and get out of town? Instead, the Torah tells us that Yaakov not only committed to work another 7 years for Rachel, but the Torah records, Vayehav games Rachel mileah. His love for Rachel increased. Mileah meaning from Leah. It would seem, according to the simple pshat, that his love of Rachel was more than Leah, which is astonishing. Wasn't Rachel also the one who had just tricked him? So Rav Levi Yitzchak mi Barditchev, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, the Kedushas Levi, suggests a beautiful, beautiful way of reading this pasuk. And he says that might be pshat, but maybe you could also read it, Vayehav games Rachel mileah, and he loved Rachel mileah. The reason why he loved Rachel was because of Leah. How so? Because Rachel gave the signs to her sister, allowing Leah to complete the marriage with Yaakov. Leah was now saved from a life of horror. And Rachel performed a chesed for her sister and allowed Yaakov to perform a chesed for Leah by marrying her. How so? Well, the pasuk tells us, "V'einei Leah rakos, v'Rachel haisa yefas toar v'yefas mare." The eyes of Leah were droopy; they were very soft. And Rashi explains to us the reason why. Because she was crying all day long. Everyone had said that Lavan has 2 daughters, Rivka has 2 sons. The oldest son was going to marry the oldest daughter, meaning Esav was destined to marry Leah. And the youngest son, Yaakov, was going to marry Rachel. And so Leah would sit and cry because she realized that was her future. A destiny of living with Esav. And all she can do was just sit and cry all day about this future. But Rachel came and gave her an opportunity to change her destiny, to change her future. And by being together with Yaakov, Leah now became one of the wives of Yaakov who could never marry Esav. And her life was now saved. Saved from being a life of terrible loss to being a life of tremendous opportunity. To be one of the mothers of the Shiftei Ka, of the 12 tribes of Israel. And so Rachel really does a chesed with her sister, but even more so. Rachel allowed Yaakov to do a chesed with Leah by marrying her, because it saved Leah from living that life that she was destined to with Esav. And when Yaakov realizes that Rachel did this and risked her own future, because it could have been that once Yaakov was already married to Leah, Rachel would then have to be the one to marry Esav. But when Yaakov sees that not only did Rachel perform this chesed and have this mesiras nefesh and give up her future for someone else, for her sister, Yaakov realizes that Rachel is a balas chesed who allowed him to do a chesed by saving Leah as well. And Yaakov's love for Rachel increases more and more. How many times in life do we find ourselves in a position that we never thought we would be in? Situation that we never thought we would have to face. And nevertheless, we try to find a way to see the silver lining, to get ourselves through, to find the positive, to make sure that we are able to be successful on some level into our future. The lesson that Yaakov Avinu teaches to us is profound. That we have to look at a challenge that comes our way and see it, perhaps at some times, as an opportunity to perform chesed, an opportunity to give to others, to be there for others. And perhaps that's just why Hashem sent that situation in our direction. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.